So let's just jump right in. Have you ever thought about what it's like to grow up in a house where your parents were, well, they were there physically, but emotionally, it felt like they were a million miles away. It's a very specific kind of quiet, isn't it? A very specific kind of loneliness.
If this quote right here, if that hits you somewhere deep, if that feeling of learning to just swallow your own hurt feels incredibly familiar, then this explainer, it's probably going to connect some really important dots for you.
Okay, so first things first, we have to understand why this even happens. And look, this isn't about pointing fingers or blaming anyone. A lot of the time, this pattern starts with parents who absolutely love their kids, but they didn't have the tools to show it. Maybe it was because of their own childhoods or just overwhelming stress or trauma they never dealt with. As a kid, your brain is basically a supercomputer designed for one thing: survival. It picks up on patterns. And if the pattern it learns is, when I show my feelings, I get pushed away, well, it adapts. It's brilliant, really. You might have become super independent, or maybe a people pleaser, doing anything to avoid that sting of rejection.
And you know, there's actually a psychological term for this whole learned behavior. It's called an avoidant attachment style. It's really just a framework for understanding why getting close to people can feel so uncomfortable, maybe even a little bit scary, even when it's all you really want.
And please, if you take one thing away today, let it be this. This way of being isn't a flaw. It's not something wrong with you. It was a brilliant, necessary strategy that your younger self came up with to get through a tough situation. It was survival.
So that was the strategy back then. But how does it show up in your life now as an adult? We're going to walk through 7 of the most common signs. And as we go, just, notice what feels true for you. No judgment.
All right, let's start with sign number 1.
This is a classic. The very moment a friendship or a relationship starts to get really deep, really emotional, do you feel an urge to pull away? Maybe you crack a joke, change the subject, or just get really busy. That closeness feels like a threat because your internal wiring says it might lead to hurt.
Okay, on to the second common sign.
Has this ever happened? Someone asks you, hey, how are you really feeling? And your mind just goes blank. It's not that you're being secretive. You just learned so early and so well to push feelings down that as an adult, it can be a real challenge to even know what's going on in there.
Number 3. This one is huge for a lot of people.
You hate, and I mean hate, asking for help. Needing someone feels like a weakness, right? That's because the deepest lesson from your childhood was that when it came down to it, you could only really rely on yourself.
And sign number 4, this one might seem a little backwards at first.
This is a big one. Without even thinking about it, you might find yourself in one relationship after another with people who are, distant or busy or scared of commitment. And why? Because that dynamic, that push and pull, it feels normal. It feels familiar, and in a really strange way, it feels safe.
Number 5 is all about how you frame your own life.
You get a big promotion at work? Oh, it was nothing. You're going through a really hard time? Other people have it worse. You just never learned that your experiences, both the good and the bad, were important enough to be seen.
All right, our 6th sign gets into guilt and boundaries. Saying something simple like, I need some space tonight, or, hey, what you said hurt my feelings. It can feel so incredibly selfish, can it? That's because your needs were often treated like an inconvenience, and that guilt is the echo of that feeling. And our last sign is maybe the quietest one of all. This is that lingering loneliness. On the outside, everything looks fine. You've got the job, the apartment, the friends, but inside, there's just this hollowness, a persistent feeling of emptiness you just can't shake. So if you've been nodding along, if 4 or 5 or maybe all of these felt true, I want you to really let this sink in. You are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You are just carrying the invisible handprint of your childhood on your heart. But here's the best part. This is the most hopeful and important part of this whole thing. That story can be rewritten. It is absolutely possible to heal, to become your own safe harbor. So let's look at a few gentle ways to start. This is your roadmap. First, just name it. Acknowledge it. It's incredibly freeing. Second, practice feeling. At the end of the day, just check in. What did I feel today? No judgment. Third, ask for what you need in small, safe ways. Fourth, consciously reparent your inner child. Talk to yourself with the kindness you always deserved. And finally, consider therapy. You really don't have to do this work alone. So, let's end with this question right here. Healing isn't about changing the past. It's about showing up for yourself in the present.
So looking at this, what is one small, gentle way you can be the emotionally available parent you always needed for yourself starting today?